I feel that I understood myself as a writer in the second grade, believe it or not. Not as a poet, but as a writer. What happened is that we second graders at St. Angela's Catholic School in Mattapan had been given an assignment by our teacher to write about one of our heroes. And I wrote about Harriet Tubman, who you are all familiar with, and submitted my assignment, and later was told by my teacher that our essays had been submitted to a contest, the American Legion contest for presumably kid writers, unbeknownst to us, and was pronounced the winner of that contest. It was a surprise to me that I had even that I had been entered into the contest, and the announcement was made in a very public space in our school, and I was shocked by that. And what occurred afterwards was there was a ceremony held during the Mass, a regular Sunday Mass at our Catholic church in our parish. And my mother purchased for me the most beautiful dress. It was a blue, like a powder blue dress with angel wings. I don't know if you all remember those angel wing dresses back in the day. And the ceremony was, as I recall it, filled with this kind of gravitas and pomp. And I walked up the aisle to receive my prize from the priest who announced that I'd been the winner of the contest in the school. And it occurred to me then, I think something in my mind told me, underscored the importance of words and my own words in the world. I come from a fairly literate family. My parents are very educated. My grandfather was a professor at an HBCU. This is a Haitian man who was a professor at an HBCU in Delaware State. So my family, was accustomed to books and reading, but I didn't think about my own words as operating in the world until my second grade teacher, submitted that work to the contest. Just want to give a shout out to teachers. I think teachers are so important in the lives of everyone and lives of children especially. So I knew then that writing was important. My own writing was important. And so I wrote in journals all of my childhood and wrote for my school papers. And at my high school, I was a high school paper editor, a page editor of my high school paper. I also wrote for the paper. I thought I was going to be a journalist. And went to school for writing, for journalism. Things shifted a bit for me as an undergraduate, especially when I discovered literature, poetry in a Black poetry course. And that just blew the top of my head off. And that's when I started to write poetry. Oh no, that's not true. I wrote poetry in high school, those high school poems full of yearning that some high school students write. And so I wrote those poems, angst, and but then started taking writing, poem seriously thinking about craft and so on when I entered that Black poetry course in my college years. So that's when I knew I was a poet. But I didn't name myself a poet until years later, you know, or name myself a writer. I wrote, but I wasn't a creative writer until probably in my 30s. Probably, I think I was about 30 years old when I decided, okay, if I'm gonna do this thing, I gotta just say that I'm a writer. And once I did that, things really opened up for me, and went off to graduate school to get an MFA in writing. So